I'm evaluating you.
Exactly.
So I'm doing two guys.
Take a look through it. It's pretty cheap.
We take a look and see what
Okay, welcome back. Now we're going to begin the formal part of our presentation. And our first speaker this evening is going to be Ross. And the title of the speech is Organize Your Speech. This is the second speech in the Competent Communicator Manual. So please welcome Ross.
Fellow Toastmasters, our distinguished guest. The game I love is breaking my heart. The game I love is ripping my heart out my chest. The game I love is football, specifically college football. And to explain to you why I have so much passion and love for the game, I have to briefly explain to you my history in relation to the game of football. Some of my earliest childhood memories, when I was 3 or 4 years old, my father was a volunteer football coach for the local high school football team. And I'd be on the sidelines with him, trolling up and down, looking up at the 14, 15, 16-year-olds, just could not wait till I was able to suit up and play football. Then the next morning, if there was a home game in Lexington, Kentucky, we would drive 3 hours, and I would go watch the University of Kentucky play football. Football is a big part of who I was. I started playing when I was 8 years old. My last game was when I was 23 years old as a fifth-year senior in college. Football was very good to me. I got away with my health. I only have the occasional migraine and get paid for 80% of my school. But college football is in a very precarious and tenuous position right now. If you've been watching anything at all, do we have any football fans in here, by the way? Okay. If you've been watching anything at all on television, you'll notice that corruption is oozing up through the pores of college football right now. There is a crisis of integrity, so to speak, in college football. And anecdotally, you start out west at the University of Southern California. They're currently on probation. Reggie Bush, more commonly known as Kim Kardashian's ex-boyfriend. He took $250,000 from an agent while he was in school, which is in direct contravention of the NCAA bylaws. Then you can move to the Ohio State University, where some of their more high-profile players sold their championship memorabilia for petty cash and free tattoos, which is again a violation. And their coach found out. But not only did he not report it, he assisted in the cover-up, and he's now out of a job. And then you go down to the University of Miami of Florida. A convicted billion-dollar Ponzi scheme by the name of Nevin Shapiro spent over $3 million between the years 2002 and 2009 buying a Hurricane football players everything from jewelry and cars to abortions for their girlfriends. So there is a total lack of moral behavior in college football. But what is more problematic than the corruption is the proposed solutions by the university presidents, the NCAA, and the athletic directors. Corruption is no stranger to amateur athletics. We've had corruption in the Olympics, anabolic steroids. We've had corruption in the Little League World Series. We've had corruption in AAU basketball, and we had the steroid scandal in college football in the 70s and 80s. College football is a special game. It's special because it's amateur. And when you think of amateur, what do you conjure up? Kids. And the energetic, youthful exuberance of kids playing a game. There's a certain purity and innocence in college football because it's not professional. I'm assuming we've got some Bears fans in here, because we're in the city of Chicago. What I hate to tell you is the NFL, the professional game, is deficient. It's flawed. One of my college roommates plays now for the New York Giants. Makes $100,000 every time he puts on a helmet on a Sunday. He doesn't care whether he wins or loses. He's there to play for his contract. They're there to stay healthy. The fans care more than the players do. But college is special because you play for passion, you play for your school, you play for tradition, and you play for the jersey and the helmet you wear. And the proposed solution by the NCAA does nothing to cure the corruption that's going on. It's threatening the integrity of the game. It's threatening to exacerbate it intensely. It's loosely analogous to the war on drugs in our own country. You have certain people, which I may or may not disagree with, who want to legalize drugs. And to be fair, it will absolutely put the drug dealers out of business. But you're not going to get at the root problem of drug dependency. The same way with college football. Two specific problems with the proposed solution. And I'll tell you, the proposed solution they're calling cost of attendance. I have no idea what they mean by that. Euphemistically, they're paying players. That's what they're doing. Which, if you see the problem here, it's an amateur sport. Well, there's two problems. The first is logical. How's that going to quell corruption? Because you give a kid $6,000 to $10,000 for the last 12 months, what's going to keep him from taking $5,000 from a booster if he wants to give it to him? Greed is a condition of humanity. And there is absolutely no logical dictate that giving these kids money, turning them into semi-professional athletes, is going to stop corruption. The other one is, you take what makes college football so great, which is the amateurism, and in effect, you're making them mercenaries. You're making them semi-professional athletes. And I find the proposed solutions intensely terrifying. If it happens, I will be heartbroken because college football can be fixed, and it can be fixed by a powerful deterrent in the system. And right now, we do not have that. We do not have a deterrent system. And I'm not, philosophically speaking, a heavy-handed, retributivist, crime and punishment guy. I believe second, third, and fourth chances. I believe people are going to mess up, and if they're willing to change, you give them a handout. But I see college football much differently. I think the way you fix it is your heavy hand. Because college football is a privilege and it's not a right. Very few people have the opportunity to have their education paid for, have free rent, free food, free books, and a little bit of petty cash to spend on the weekends with your friends. You get to travel. If you're on a good team, you get to go to California or Florida every winter for 2 or 3 weeks. You live a privileged existence. You don't need more than that. And if you're going to squander that, then what I would submit they need to do to fix the problems is, number one, for your first offense, you are off the team for 1 calendar year. If you actually took away from them what they treasure most, which is playing the game, it would quell the behavior. And number two, your second offense, not only are you off the team permanently, but I would suggest that you are banned from all college athletics indefinitely at all levels, in all sports, and you have to pay back the money that has been lended to you by your endowed scholarship. I believe a heavy-handed deterrent will fix the corruption, and I believe the current problem is going to take a great, largely pure amateur game and turn it into semi-professional sport. Mr. Toastmaster.
That was an excellent speech. In college, I swam and I was a scholarship athlete. And the only thing I remember us getting was free bananas and oranges for our kids. Now, moving on to our next speaker. The title of his speech is Story TMI. Telling stories and speeches is challenging because there is always the question of how much detail to leave in, what details to leave out, and how much detail is enough. Our next speaker has been struggling with his stories for many years and recently discovered the works of world championship speakers, which gave him a simple solution to the story issue. Today you will discover the dangers of story TMI. The mistaken Toastmaster suggests about how to handle TMI and the solution to TMI the world championship speakers use. you'll walk out of this room today with a new storytelling tool in your pocket and a new awareness of how to handle story TMI. And now, please join me in welcoming Tim Wilson.
You know what TMI is? What is TMI? Too much information. Right. And when do they say you have TMI? What's the situation? When you're talking and you really don't want to hear about it. Sometimes guys listen to women talking about the birth process and you're a little bit, TMI. Well, stories do the same thing. Do your stories have TMI? It's an easy thing to have happen. You have to tell a story. Because you tell a story, you get in a roll, and they start going. And Toastmasters actually encourages this. Toastmasters talks about being specific. And the problem with being specific is that it leads to story TMI. And story TMI can be disastrous to the audience. And I know this from personal experience. Toastmasters says you want to be specific. You want to be very specific about what you're saying. Don't use words like large. You say that. Don't use large. Say exactly how many. So by connection, don't use specific. Don't use few. Say exactly how many. Don't use many. Say exactly how many. Don't use couple. Say exactly how many. That's the Toastmasters way. You want to say exactly how many. And I did that. For years. And I remember I told a story about me. And 10 guys went into a bar. And the first guy had a green shirt. The second guy had a blue shirt. The third guy had a red shirt. The fourth guy had a purple shirt. The fifth guy had a... By the time I finished that story, half the audience was asleep. The other half had left. There's such a thing as too much information. And I started doing this, going through it's got to be specific. And did this until I started reading in the World Champion Speakers and reading about how they'd say it's okay to say a few. It's okay to say couple. It's okay to say some. So I went through some of my speeches, and I took a couple of them, and I went through them a few times, and then after a while I figured out that this could work several times. And I discovered the audience was perfectly fine, as long as it's not specific to your story. So if there's some story detail, I have to know why there's 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. It's okay. You can say few. You can say several. You can say couple. In fact, your stories will be better for it. Now the thing Toastmasters says is that if you do that, the audience won't know what you're talking about. They'll get confused. So people will think different things. When I say several, you think several means one thing. You think several means something else. You think several means something else. You each have a different idea of several. Does that make sense? Isn't that cool? I have just customized my story for you. For you. I customized my story for the entire audience. Each person in the audience has their own idea of what everything is. Each person in the audience envisions everything exactly the way that works best for them. By using words like few, and several, many, audience customizes it for themselves. So it really connects with them, it really is relevant, it really works. Does that make sense? Toastmasters has a lot of great things to say. Wonderful things talking about the importance of words. And you're using words. Words are powerful. The Powerful Presentations is a presentation that Darren LaCroix, World Champion Speaker, gives. It's really effective, really interesting, because it uses those powerful words. When it comes to stories and being specific, you're going to go down and you're going to get story TMI. So the thing you want to remember always is to suggest your stories. Suggest your stories. When you have a story, just a little suggestion is enough. Don't need to go on the story team. Just suggest the stories. The audience will come along. They'll understand. They won't get confused. And everything will be engaged, and everything will work. So in suggesting your stories, you can have better stories, more powerful stories, more interesting stories. Next week, we're going to talk about how sometimes it's better to just stand still. Good.
Thank you, Tim, for that excellent speech. Now our next speaker is going to be John. And the title of his speech is Gold is Money, so please welcome John.
So everyone has been watching in the news. We see the price of gold been going up, not just this past week, but really for the past 10 years. So tonight I'm going to tell you some of the reasons why it's going up and a bit of history about gold. A few things to know about gold is it's indestructible. All the gold that's ever been mined, it's still with us. It's not like a cantaloupe or something where you eat it and it's gone. All the gold that's been mined for thousands of years is still with us. At the same time, it's very rare. All the gold in the world, if you put it all together, would just fill up a 66-foot square cube, which is pretty amazing. A few other things about gold. It's used for three things: for investment, jewelry, and industrial purposes. Now, how many people think the US dollar is actually backed by gold? That's good to know. But it was, in 1971, it was backed by gold. I don't know about for individual people that have their dollars, but countries could, like if France had $400 billion, they could say, give us $400 billion worth of gold. But what happened in 1971 is countries started asking for their gold, and the US was running out of gold. So the Nixon administration said, from now on, we're not on the gold standard. It's just, we're the world's currency and we can do what we want. So since 1971, the US started printing more money, and we started having a little more inflation in the past, earlier in the century. But to get back to today, as I said, gold's been going up for about the past 10 years, and there's a lot of reasons for it. The two biggest main reasons, in my opinion, are India and China. You see, India and China, there's over 2 billion people. I think the US has about 40 billion people. But in the past 10 years or so, India and China, they started going from a developed economy to economies like ours, so they're growing 10% a year with gross national product. So 2 billion people are starting to enter that middle class. They're getting more buying power, so they're buying more gold. India has a long tradition of buying gold anyway. But if you can just imagine say 1 billion people that were poor, and now they have jobs, they have money, they can buy gold. I'm trying to stress that the main reason something goes up is because someone buys it. It's a supply and demand thing. So that's one reason. I don't want to get too technical because I'm not an expert, but another big reason is all the countries in the world, they have their own central banks. And up until a few years ago, most of the world's central banks, they would keep their gold because it was just up until the past few years, they were selling their gold. Now they're keeping it. So like the European countries had an agreement where they could sell up to 500 tons of their gold each year. But in the past years, with all the financial problems you've seen in the world, and a lot of people don't know what the heck's going on, most of the central banks started to keep the gold. So this also put pressure on the supply. Whereas before 500 tons of gold were being sold every year, now in some cases central banks are buying it. So you have all these different folks that are buying gold, yet at the same time, very similar to oil, it's kind of, the production has been basically flat for the past 10 years. So you have 2 billion Indian and Chinese buying gold, world central banks not selling their gold, yet the production, the amount of gold mined every year has been like the same. So that puts pressure on the price of gold. And then the other reason is the US. See, up until maybe 1990, U.S. was in a growth period. We were a very strong country economically, and we're still a strong country economically. But the fact is now we have a $14 trillion deficit, and many folks are worried about inflation, and they're also worried about the dollars they hold. A lot of foreign countries hold our debt, like China has $1 trillion, and Japan and all these countries. And instead of buying dollars, all of a sudden they're thinking, maybe it's going to be worthless paper someday. Hopefully that won't come, but maybe instead of buying dollars, we're going to start buying gold. So all these different things have been pushing the price of gold up. Gold is the same everywhere. You can have an ounce of gold, and it's traded in dollars. Your ounce of gold is worth the same wherever you go in the world. So anyway, we've gotten to the point where when gold started going up 10 years ago, it was around $300. It went up for a brief time in the 1980s for a year or two because there was like an oil embargo and there was an inflationary scare. But this is a real deal. So gold has been going up for 10 years, and a lot of people are skeptical. But people are starting to think maybe it's the real thing. So some people think the world is in a commodity super cycle. Gold, it's not really a commodity, but for tonight I'll say it's a commodity. So generally commodities, they're very cyclical, they'll stay flat for years and then go up. So we've seen like food prices and all sorts of commodities, oil, basically been going up for 10 years. And a super cycle can last anywhere from like 15 to 20 years. I used to trade futures, so it's really watching. So I'm of the opinion, and other people are, that we're in a super cycle, that basically we're halfway through. So if we have another 8 to 10 years of gold going up, there's still a ways to go. It's not what everybody, no one can predict the future. But these are all a lot of different points of view. Some professionals think gold is worthless. Others think it's the only thing worth having. To bring us to the close, some people might think, how can I buy gold? What do I do? Some women have gold jewelry, or you see this news of a new gold mining stock that comes. Big gold deposit and goes from $1 a share to $100 a share. But really the best way to buy gold is you can buy gold coins at your local coin shop. You can buy little gold bars. And you can buy, in the past few years, we've had a lot of new financial instruments. You can buy a gold ETF, which is an exchange-traded fund. It's kind of like a stock, but you're actually buying value of gold. But now that I've convinced you all to buy gold, I'm going to tell you that gold is actually very volatile. How many people know what happened today with the price of gold?
I didn't see it.
Gold dropped like $100 today. It had been going up every day, almost for the past month. I think it went up to $1,900 an ounce. And then today it dropped $100, and folks are like, see, it's a bubble, this, that. What it is, it's a mini bubble in a bull market. But my point is, gold is very volatile. So if you're going to buy gold, you want to have it as a long-term investment, something a minimum of 3 years. Gold may vary from 1750, it could drop down to 1400, back up to 2015. But the thing is to have a long-term outlook for gold, because it's very volatile, and have maybe a small percentage of your assets in gold. And the other thing we should worry about is inflation, because gold tells us there could be inflation down the road. But the one thing not to fear is the fact that gold is rising. It's just part of the natural cycle of the dollar losing its value, and part of this wonderful super cycle we have. So with that, I'll give you a bit of time to think about your investment decisions for the rest of it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. That was an excellent speech. I actually had my money in gold and silver since '04. Through those years, I always had doubt, and it's always reassuring to have experts like John give me reassurance. Our next speaker is going to be Maxine, and the title of her speech is your thoughts, ... Please help me welcome Maxine.
Good evening, fellow Toastmaster. Welcome guests, all the ET members, everyone. Have you ever looked around and thought, where has everything come from? Why are we using this little thing called the pen to write? Why do we use tables when the floor is perfectly good to put things on? Do we need them? And why are we putting water in plastic bottles? Weird. If you've ever read the book Think and Grow Rich, and how many have read that book, Think and Grow Rich? Well then hopefully you've learned one idea, that thoughts are things, and things are thoughts. You see, before the pen was invented, they used to use the quill, the feather to write with ink. And then one day, this guy said, this feather thing is starting to smell, and the ink is spilling all over. Hey, plastic was just invented. Why don't we put the two together and make a pen? Voila. Instead of living on the floor, stockpiling, having your life on the floor, which was perfectly good, someone got tired of that and decided, let's make some tables. Let's put things on tables, desks, cabinets. Let's make some space for other things. Instead of running to the well to get a cup of water, running to the faucet to get a glass of water, carrying around a big heavy canteen for water, someone said, hey, plastic was made. I just want something simple. I want some water to carry around with me everywhere I go. See, all these ideas and materials were first thought of in the mind of man. First, thoughts are things. Does this make sense? This is a really important concept. And I've been really doing my best to understand this concept, how thoughts are materials. As the first step, I want you to understand. Now, the second step is I want you to look at yourself. Think about your life and what you have. But first, let's go back to your childhood when you really didn't have many choices, or at least I didn't. I don't know about you, but I didn't get to choose the food I wanted to eat. I didn't get to choose the clothes I wanted to wear, the friends I wanted, for school. How many other people here, as children, didn't get to choose what they wanted in their childhood? All right, a few other tortured souls. But as we grew up, I became adults, which adult is to make your own choices. We went to school, and we decided, hey, for example, maybe I wanted to become an accountant. So you'd study to be an accountant, and you got that job. Now, whether you were happy or not with it, that's another story, but you got what you were thinking about. Think about your home. How does your home look? How is the style, the furniture? Do you have a small TV? Do you have a big TV? Because it was your choice in your mind what you saw first